Your players left the table 4 days ago, and one of them texts you, "I can't stop thinking about that scene in the church." That's when you know you didn't just run a session, you ran a scar into their memory. And here is how you do that. So it was 6 sessions ago, at least 5 or 6 sessions ago. The players came across a model of a board game with little minis on it of themselves. Every time they tried to interact with the board and the miniatures, they would touch it and they would get traumatic flashbacks from childhood or other haunting things that never actually happened. True story, one of my players, Mallory, doesn't stop talking about it. It's been 3 months and it's still a subject of conversation. And the reason that is the human brain, it doesn't remember safe. It remembers high stakes and danger. So there's moments where something could go horribly wrong, or something they don't understand fully that's so mysterious that it leaves an impact on them. One of those moments when something could be won or lost so easily. If you want your players to think about your session all week, every scene you should ask, what happens if the players fail? If the answer is nothing, they'll forget by lunchtime. Shock your players with intimacy, not just violence. Stop thinking memorable just means blood, death, and explosions. That's cheap. Real tension is silent. A mother offering a drink to the man who killed her son. Players remember scenes that hurt, not because they were gory, because they were that close to dying and having to roll a new character. Give your players the knife. You want addiction? Give them choice. Not fake choices, real brutal fork in the road moments. Let the players choose who lives and who dies. Let them choose who gets left behind, and let them choose to betray their morals. My players just finished the Tainted Springs of Oakhaven, and while they were celebrating their victory and resting up and spending their treasure and doing this and that in town, 2 things happen. An injured miner comes hobbling into town and collapses right in front of them. He lets out a few utterances and dies at their feet. The plague doctor tries to help him unsuccessfully. The players get the notion from the townsfolk that they should go investigate the mine to see what happened, to see if there's any survivors. At the same time, a messenger comes from the next town over, the town known as Black Hollow. It's a message from the hangman. Now, if they choose to go to the mine, whatever happens in the town, they're not going to be able to affect that. So it's time is of the essence. The players decided to go to town. Mine collapse disaster will be long over before they get done in the town. So the hangman has been executing witches, and he knows that they are not witches. The town leadership has been keeping him busy with executions to distract him what's really going on. I give him a 3-day travel period to get to the next town, during which they have road encounters with random hauntings and supernatural type unexplained circumstances just to heighten the mood. Ghost children, a mother swaddling a baby bundle, but the baby bundle is empty. And I didn't really put any plot hooks in that. It was just build up. They arrive in town during an actual execution taking place. The hangman looks over at him and nods at him with their companion, the messenger, as he graphic detail of how he's doing this breaking on the wheel and the executing of this witch. Their companion, Indigo, who brought them the note from the hangman now knows who you are. Get settled in and the hangman will come to you. I have them just exploring the little town, kind of boring. And then you let the world remember it. Hey, aren't you the guys who abandoned the survivors in the collapsed mine? My father was in there. They can run into anybody later who was affected by their decision. The Dungeon Master doesn't punish the decisions, the world does. That's why you don't use a screen, you don't fudge the dice, you roll right in front of them and they fall where they may. Design one scene per session that feels like a movie, not like a dungeon, not a tavern, not a set piece. It's a flooded ballroom or a jail cell with only one bed. A church filled with hanging cages and flickering candlelight and the smell of blood on the air. The players should walk in and be like, holy, what the hell is this place? That is when the brain locks it in. Your players do have to bleed. Don't run cardboard NPCs, run actual people. If a player feels like they are talking to a real person, they'll follow that NPC into hell. Make the game about the players. And that's kind of the final trick. Stop really writing the campaign and start writing echoes. You can gather over a few sessions what each player are into. You can learn their fears, their flaws, their lies. Build your world to reflect their choices and their guilt and their anger. When the villain says, I did it for the same reason you did, that's when they'll wake up at 3 a.m. thinking about your game. Want your sessions to be unforgettable? Don't just give them dungeons, give them wounds. Subscribe if you want more than just goblins and loot. This is D&D for the obsessed.